Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the live chat for Wednesday, March 26, 2025. I know sometimes I type 26. I'm not sure why. I don't know why I do that, but I've been doing that a couple of times and Susan pointed it out. So I'm going to try to be really careful not to make that mistake. So we have a couple of things we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to look at some of the observations. I want to make a couple of points because I'm seeing some of the usual suspects making all sorts of claims about potential snow in the spring because of the negative NAOs. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to get ready for the start of the baseball season. Opening day is for tomorrow for all the teams that are really good. So we're not going to be talking about the Dodgers, who aren't worthy. But we are going to cover the Mets, the Yankees, and the Phillies. I'll give you my points of view on how they will be this season. But let's start off first with my book of the week. And that book will be The Short Course in Cloud Physics. This is by R.R. Rogers and M.K. Yao. Now, this is an excellent book. I've been starting to use it over the past couple days, and I'm using it to get ready to answer a lot of the questions on the CCM test, which is a written test. Again, we're not going to go over the questions of the test, but I just kind of want to give you an idea of the books that I'm using. So this book is really cool. I have the second edition from when I was in college, but that's like, God, this is going to sound old. It's good. It's about 25 years old. So this is updated now, and it covers thermodynamics of dry air, water vapor and its thermodynamic effects, partial buoyancy and atmospheric stability, mixing and convection, observed properties of clouds, formation of cloud droplets, droplet growth by condensation, initiation of rain in non-freezing clouds, formation and growth of ice crystals, rain and snow, which is kind of important when you're talking about cloud physics, the severe storm and hail evolution, precipitation processes, weather modification. Yes, some of you guys out there, a little bit of conspiracy theory. Okay, you want to get the truth about what weather modification really is. You want to pick up this book because this is the actual science for what we can actually do. And no, we cannot control storm or weather, but you could force a little bit of rain if you have the proper conditions. So this covers that in detail and also gives you the equations and what our limitations are and why those limitations are in place via science. And of course, we answer some select problems and numerical cloud models as well. So this is a little bit more of a high-tech book, not exactly a high school book, but I would say as a senior, if you're getting ready to go to college for meteorology, at the very least, this is a great book because you will need it for your first and second years in college. So, hey, if you get it as a gift, it saves you a lot of money and a lot of oxygen because sometimes it's hard to get this book. But if you start reading it now and just to kind of get used to the equations, but more importantly, if you have that crazy cousin running around telling you that, hey, they're controlling the weather, you could actually school them and sound really smart after you read this book and go over all of that stuff. So that's a lot of great stuff here. So this is one of the books I'm using. So definitely check that out. You can find that book on Amazon. You can find it at the AMS store, American Meteorological Society store on books. I found it really easy on Amazon, pretty fair. You have the hardcover and the soft cover, and you can also find a digital version as well if you want to use that and kind of download it on your iPad or whatnot. Next, let's talk about baseball. The baseball season starting. As you know, I am a die-hard Mets fan, but let's give the Phillies some due. They are going to be a really good team this year. They're going to be a real challenge. I think they're going to be able to put up a fight for the NL East, for the lead of the NL East. I definitely think they're a playoff team. The only question I have with the Phillies is their age. They are starting to get up there, and you know, age is undefeated. And so that's going to be something that's definitely going to be watched for. They don't really have a lot of young up and coming players, at least not that I've seen in spring training. So it'll be interesting to see what this team does, but it is a dangerous team. So definitely watch out for that. And of course, their starting pitching is for the most part elite. So I think that's what's going to really carry their way. I think they're going to be more of a pitching first, especially starting pitching first type team. The Mets, I'm really excited about, obviously, for several reasons, including a new right fielder that we have. What's his name again? Soto, something like that. Some guy that has been bouncing around the league and whatnot, hitting all sorts of home runs. He seems to be a pretty good player, so it should be interesting to see how he does. And of course, you have the rest of the team that's coming back that got all the way to the NLCS. The Mets are going to be a team that is going to be offense first, which means if you like a lot of games that are like 8-4, 6-8, uh, 9-10, I see a lot of those type of games in the future for this team. The reason why is that I'm not as confident with the starting pitching. This team reminds me a lot like 2006, where, hey, if you get your starting pitching to about the fifth or sixth inning, that's a win, and then you try to do the best you can with the bullpen. I think the bullpen is going to surprise a lot of people. I think that's going to be good. I think there's going to be a lot of come from behind wins this year, driven by the offense. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Then the Yankees. I'm not sure what to think of the Yankees. On one hand, they have the potential to be really good if everything falls into place because they have a lot of veteran players that, if they do well this year, and play up to their potential, this could be a really tough lineup and a really good team. Not so confident about their defense. And the pitching, of course, one of their aces went down, but you still have another ace that is in there. So I think that the Yankees are going to be very much in the playoff chase. I think, given the rest of the American League, I think that they definitely will be in the playoffs, whether that is as the AL East champion or as a top wild card team. I'm not sure. I would definitely. I've been hearing a lot of chatter about Boston, but the O's are not going to just be fading away. I think they're a good team as well. I'm not convinced on Toronto. They're always talked about, but they always end up fading. I'm not that impressed with their pitching. Their offense is a little bit on and off. It's not consistent, and they rely a lot on the home run. I think the Yankees are going to be better than what a lot of people are thinking, especially a lot of fans who are down on the way that the offseason went. But at the same time, I think they're going to be in for a fight this year for the AL East, as opposed to last year where they really kind of pulled away early and really dominated early. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out. Overall, I'm expecting this to be a very fun season. And I expect all three teams to be in the playoffs this year. And the way that Major League Baseball is set up, hey, if you get in the playoffs, anything, I mean anything, can happen. Now, you're probably wondering, hey, Steven, where am I going to get all that information about, daily weather updates for my games if I want to go to a baseball game? Well, I got some good news for you. Much like the past couple of years, this year we will continue to have baseball updates. So all you got to do is go to the public dashboard, and that eventually loads. There we go. And then you see this baseball. Yeah, that's pretty much where everything is. So you go right here, it loads, it pops up, and there you have it for the opening day for tomorrow. We have the Mets visiting the Astros at 4:10. Luckily, they have a retractable roof. So even though it's going to be raining like crazy around Houston, they will be high and dry and ready to play. The Yankees are at home. You're going to definitely want to bring a jacket with you. It's going to be a bit chilly. The good news is that the winds are only going to be around 5 to 10 miles per hour. The bad news is that temperatures are going to be in the upper 40s. So you're going to have plenty of coffee, hot cocoa. You're going to definitely want to warm up. Not much in the way of ice cream with this outing because it's going to be cold enough to just not have that ice cream melt until you eat it. So it is definitely going to be a bit of a chilly day out in the Bronx. But as always, there will be plenty of sunshine, and that always helps. If you are heading down to Washington to watch the Phillies start their season, pretty much just scattered clouds. Winds are going to be from the west southwest, around 5 to 10 miles per hour. A bit warmer with temperatures in the upper 50s. If we get enough mixing, we might actually touch 60 degrees. Not too bad of weather conditions. And hey, the Phillies should be able to take over a lot of Nationals Park because at this point, who's really watching the Nationals? Let's be honest. So definitely, I'm expecting a lot of Philly fans down there to watch that game. So every morning I will do an update as far as the game, and then the afternoon I'll just do a quick check to see, hey, does the forecast look good? And we'll have that out before the game starts. For the most part, the plan is to have them always in the morning, and then you can always come to the website and see the latest. And of course, for home games, I have game advice. So, for example, for the Yankees, dry but chilly. Uh, Conditions can be expected, so you definitely want to bring a coat with you. Other than that, hey, enjoy the game. It's going to be fun, right? It should be a fun period of baseball. Now, let's talk about this upcoming weather pattern. What are the forcing mechanisms that are driving this weather pattern? Well, first of all, we have our collapsing polar vortex. Just got updated on the GFS, and I love using this display because it kind of shows you the vertical cross section of this whole polar vortex collapsing. So the reason why I really like to show this is because you can literally see the different components separating and breaking down. And one of the things that's very interesting is that you have a ghost of the polar vortex lingering over the northern Pacific. And this is going to typically lead to a nice broad trough over the northern Pacific and send plenty of Pacific storms right into the Pacific Northwest. One of those is actually heading towards the Pacific Northwest, which we'll take a look at on a satellite picture that may actually produce some severe thunderstorms around Washington and Oregon. So very interesting storm. This has the potential of producing quite a nice string of energetic storms into the Pacific Northwest as we move through April. So that is going to be interesting. Notice we're losing our influence over the northern Atlantic, and that's really important because a lot of the echo, so to speak. Now, look, when the polar vortex collapses, it just doesn't end and that's it. You kind of have these echoes, kind of like ghosts hanging around. And one of those ghosts is going to be the negative NAO, based on the way that this whole thing is collapsing. You have a stronger signal over the northern Pacific than you will over the northern Atlantic. So you kind of lean more towards a negative PNA really dominating this weather pattern rather than a negative NAO. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Another forcing mechanism, of course, is the tropical forcing. Our, I guess you can call it La Nina, that was there for about 15 minutes, is faded. It's gone. You still have some cooler waters out here and certainly some warmer waters out here. We don't have any support for any type of El Nino developing, but certainly plenty of support for a warm, neutral environment. Okay, so you have nice warming taking place out here in the eastern zones. Western zones are still a little cool, but as you can see over the time zone here, over the chart here, we are definitely moderating. Okay, now when you're watching this, typically you don't see just a huge switch. It's kind of back and forth as the gradient evolves. And part of that is based on what's left in the subsurface. Now, one thing that has changed over the past 2 weeks since I showed this chart is that the subsurface in the eastern zones have been significantly warmer. In fact, at this rate, you can possibly make an argument of sustaining this warm pool of water and basically eroding this cold pool that is about 50 meters below the surface. Meanwhile, you still have this cold pool down here that is still relatively deep, getting up down to about 225 meters. So, most likely, we're going to continue on with this neutral muted tropical forcing feature in, and what this means is that not much is really going to be changing with the subtropical jet stream through April. May, we'll see. By the middle of April, I expect a lot of this to fade away. The MJO is very weak. I mean, it's basically just running around the circle of neutrality, so we're not really seeing a strong tropical forcing, and the stratospheric forcing is fading, but that's literally the only ghost that we have. And in terms of the SOI data, well, it still remains in a positive state. So you can't expect a powerful subtropical jet stream but you also don't have support for a powerful polar jet stream. So this is actually going to lead to basically a just enough interaction to create a stormy weather pattern for us. Not severe weather, but plenty of rain potential. And so when we take a look at our 500 millibar pattern over the next 15 days, notice, yeah, we get a negative NAO signal, but it's displaced to the north and east. Okay, so this time of year, you typically do not get your traditional negative NAO. You have a lot of knuckleheads running around saying, oh, negative NAO, that means winter storms in the spring. And someone pulls out something from like 1882. Oh, there was a winter storm in April and it caused all this and 19 this and 18 this. Yeah, it can happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but understand those situations were historic because literally everything came together at just the right time, at just the right place, with just the right amount of lifting, with just the right amount of cold air. In other words, a perfect scenario. A 10 out of 10 in ice skating. A perfect score in Jumanji. Okay? It rarely happens. Okay? That's why it's historic. That's why we write historic papers about it. But that doesn't mean you will find it in every model guidance whenever it pops up on the GFS with snow or on the NAM on the very edge of the model guidance. That's why you don't use that. And that's why you also don't use the HRR, which I saw some people using this past week for synoptic forecasts. It's a mesoscale model, for God's sakes. What are we doing? Just because it shows a little snowflakes doesn't mean you jump on it. You have to kind of use some common sense here. And we're going to go over more of that in just a moment. But take a look at the 500 millibar pattern. What this typically tells me is that we're going to get a lot of storms tracking up towards the mid Atlantic. We have some blocking, but it doesn't stick. It just kind of shoots in and then redevelops and pops in back and forth. This is screaming to me backdoor cold front, which means a lot of raw weather conditions as we move into April. And the extended mile guidance, this is 45-day mile guidance, so we can march all the way through April. Again, you don't take this verbatim, okay? Understand that the way you use this is that you get the theme. So the theme here is okay, below normal heights over the northwestern Atlantic. So there's a good potential for a lot of troughs here. Overall, you got above normal heights, but really poorly formed over Greenland. So you get the potential here for a lot of storm tracks coming up towards the Great Lakes or towards Pennsylvania, and then shooting across towards the Gulf of Maine. With this feature blocking any type of tropical air to surge into New England, you got a nice backdoor cold front signal here, so you got maritime air masses. This is going to be a nightmare for people on Long Island and Connecticut, where you're going to be in the 40s and 50s, while other people are celebrating temperatures in the 70s and 80s. Now, look, granted, you will have some of your warm days. And Saturday is going to be one of them, where it's going to be absolutely beautiful. No one's doing anything on Saturday. Everyone's going outside, enjoying the beautiful weather, 70 degrees, 80 degrees, going to the ballpark, whatever you're going to do, but you won't be inside unless you hate warm weather or the sun or both. So, overall, it is going to be an absolutely beautiful day on Saturday. But overall, that's going to be more of a rare thing as we look at April. And this pattern screams to me plenty of light to moderate rainfall events. So, like a quarter of an inch here, half an inch there. This is great news if you're worried about the drought, because what this will do, and it's already starting to do it now, is that it will get that water into the water table, into the roots of your crops and your grass. Some of you guys care more about grass than crops, so I'm just going to cover both. You do not want heavy rain, 2-3 inch type rainfall events, because all that does is lead to droughts. I mean, should I say flooding, urban flooding, street flooding, river flooding, and also washing out all your topsoil. So therefore, all the seeds that you planted all end up down the drain. This is nice and light, damp, gradually getting everything more damp, and it reduces the dry air boundary layer that could be in place that enhances your fire danger and also limits your thunderstorm potential. So all of this is great news. This is exactly what we want to see. Also notice out towards the west coast, you have a more of a muted pattern here over the Pacific Northwest. You do have a nice little ridge just trying to pop here from time to time over Canada, which you kind of expect with this type of pattern. And look what's also showing up here. Like I was saying with the polar vortex collapsing and you having that ghost, you get that trough here lingering around the Gulf of Alaska as a result. And that signal all the way into possibly even into May, strongly suggests in the spring a lot of storms moving into the west coast and the Pacific Northwest. Again, you have to understand you have to adjust the wavelengths because we're moving into the warm season. So your thermal gradients are different and the wavelengths and the impacts of all these forcing mechanisms change, right? So a trough around the Gulf of Alaska or even around the eastern portions of the Aleutians does not lead to the same type of weather pattern that you would get in the winter. What you end up with is a more of a muted ridge, and you have better potential for storms to track in under that ridge in this scenario, interacting with the subtropical jet stream. And this is how you get your storms marching into the plains, playing severe weather down here, and then marching off towards the northern Atlantic, where we get our rainfall events and stationary boundaries and raw conditions over Connecticut and southern New England and Long Island, and very warm conditions in the Philadelphia metro. It's going to be one of those springs that's going to keep me on my toes in terms of the temperatures. Now, right now, we're in the 40s. I want to make this very, very clear. I want to make this very clear, okay? Please remember your surface temperatures right now, okay? So we're in the 40s on the coast. Only place that's below freezing is way up in Mount Pocono, 31. That's about it. Everyone else over the interior at 8 o'clock at night are in the mid to upper 30s. Again, it is 8:22 right now, and we're in the lower to mid 40s over much of the I-95 corridor. I am pointing this out because I want to show you the 850 millibar temperatures. Okay. Currently, right now, we range between, excuse me, -6 degrees Celsius and minus, let's say, 9.5 degrees Celsius. In the winter, this would support temperatures in the 20s. In late March, this supports temperatures at 8 o'clock at night in the 40s. In the middle of the day, 40s and lower 50s. I want to make this very clear because when you see this, what the model guidance sees is below normal temperatures. It doesn't do a good job with adjusting the surface temperatures and the way that that cold air is translated towards the surface. So you get a lot of signals of snow, 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 and your snow maps are snow. But this is right now a great example of how you cannot take the 850 millibar temperatures and translate them towards the surface down to you can't bring them down adiabatically properly in this environment because even in this case the sun angle when the sun's up is warming up the lower portions of the atmosphere, and by the time the sun sets, which again it's 8:23, it takes longer to cool. So it supports cold, low temperatures, and we're going to be falling off into the mid to upper 20s over the Poconos and Catskills, upper 20s to lower 30s along the coastal plain in the major cities. So definitely a cold day tomorrow morning, right? Cold start, but it takes a while for that to happen. So this is a great time to go over the ground rules. When you see some knucklehead running around sharing snow maps or getting excited over a depiction of snow on a model, remember this. It's almost down to -10 degrees Celsius at 850 millibars at 8 o'clock at night, and we're still above freezing at the surface. So understand, in order for this to translate to some sort of frozen precipitation that actually accumulates, and I'm not talking about a rogue grapple or flurry within some snow, some rain shower. What you need is intense lifting. Okay, you need intense rising to cool the boundary layer to mix these temperatures. So it's not just bringing a temperature down adiabatically. You have to also cause temperatures to rise rapidly, and that is how you get your boundary layer. So whenever someone points this stuff out, what I want you to do is look at 500 millibars and find out whether it's accompanied with an intense 500 millibar low. That's the only way you pull that off. I'm saying this so that way you don't waste your time with this nonsense. That's what it is. It's nonsense. Look, if I was interested in just getting as many followers as possible and get as many people to follow my content because of hype, then that's what I would do in this situation. But I actually have integrity, so I don't do that. And I want you to understand the science behind this, and this right here is just a perfect example of, with such a cold upper level pattern, you're not seeing that type of reciprocal situation. Instead, what you get is this convective shower potential. Now, the surface is very warm. So what's happening is that you have a parcel in the atmosphere that's able to rise rapidly. So in the afternoon, you get all these little convective showers breaking up like popcorn, right? They just pop, pop, pop. And you get these little rain showers, and at times they're mixed with a little bit of sleet, a little bit of graupel, a little bit of snow. No accumulation because the boundary layer is in the 40s. So it's a cold day in spring. It's a cold spring day. There we go. That's the word. Okay. And you end up with some of the ice mixing in, but no real accumulation at all. So you don't need a snow map. You don't need to scare people. The only thing that you would have to be concerned about in this pattern, especially if you get something popping up in the early morning hours, is maybe a little bit of freezing drizzle. That's pretty much it. And that's for like the Poconos and Catskills on the very top of the mountains, let's say above 1,700 feet above. Okay, so that's pretty much the only thing you have to worry about moving forward at this time. So, anyone that's giving you any concern about the valleys or anything of that nature, no. Cross it out, exit out. Now, as we move forward, we're going to get a lot of dry air building. And that's why we're not too concerned about precipitation after midnight tonight, because after that, it dries out and temperatures plummet as skies clear and winds slacken off a bit. So that's what is going on. And you can see still the convective nature taking place here at 8 o'clock at night. Okay, this is 8:30. Let's refresh this real fast. Let's see if we get it. This is a visible satellite picture with a multi-spectrum IR, and you can get this at star.nesdis.noaa.gov. Okay, free website. Well, not free. You pay for it with your taxes. You can see here that convective influence, but notice it's starting to fade as temperatures start to cool at the surface and we lose that instability in the atmosphere. Zoomed out a bit, not much in the way of storms. This isn't a very strong environment for storms. Okay, we really don't see that taking shape. We have maybe some nice convection taking shape. There's rainfall setting up for Houston. You can see the subtropical jet stream influencing you with nice divergence and diffluence. Look at the feathery version of the clouds here. On the water vapor side, let me jump to the west coast here. This is an example of the dynamic storms we're going to be seeing marching their way from the Gulf of Alaska towards the Pacific Northwest. Watch out as this moves in. You got a lot of cold air aloft, creating a lot of instability. This feature right here is going to be heading right for the Pacific Northwest, and that is what's going to lead to the potential for thunderstorms. It's also going to lead to a very active pattern marching its way through the northern tier and heading towards us, which is why we're going to get cold front after cold front, stationary front after stationary front, hanging around the region, leading to the potential for rainfall. So it's definitely looking like an active spring. On the water vapor satellite picture, there is your subtropical jet stream. There's your uh, strong jet streak down here with your divergence and diffluence. We're not seeing a strong rainfall potential like we saw on Monday with the storm that's departing today because the jet streams aren't aligned and you're not seeing a strong moisture transport. That's why you only had a few pesky showers and that's about it. Whereas Monday was featured up to an inch of rain. Just want to pull up the upper level winds here. Again, the way to tell whether or not we're going to be seeing a heavy rainfall event, and I'm going to define that as a half an inch to an inch and a half, because I don't really see much in the way of 2 inch type rainfall events. But the overall theme is that when the polar jet stream is aligned with the subtropical jet stream, that will enhance our moisture transport up the coast, and that's when we'll see widespread rainfall. If you don't see that alignment in the model guidance, you're not going to get a heavy rainfall event, no matter what the GFS says. So that is the overall theme that I want you to keep an eye on as these disturbances march across. When do they become aligned with each other? When they do, significant storm. When they don't, a few passing showers, variable cloud cover, and at times some cool conditions. So, looking over the next 90 hours, what we have are no major storms until we get all the way into Monday. And that is where we're going to have to watch out for some thunderstorms. Again, not a lot of strong short waves. So, heading off all the way through the weekend is going to be relatively quiet. We are going to be a bit unsettled because as the mid-level ridge moves off, we're going to get a lot of warm air transport. And you can see the influence of that frontogenesis here at 700 millibars. And you can also see that moisture transport at throughout the atmosphere from the surface up to 500 millibars. Nice integrated vapor transport all the way through the weekend. It's a bit muted. By Sunday evening into Monday, this is what I'm talking about. It aligns perfectly, so you get a perfect moisture transport from the Caribbean right up the East Coast. And when that happens, that's when we can really enhance our showers and thunderstorms and support the potential for moderate to heavy rainfall in that type of environment. So another way to keep track of that is your precipitable water values. Again, not really looking all that impressive. Just so you can kind of reset here, now that we're in the warm season, your heavy rainfall potential has to shift in terms of your precipitable water value understanding. In the winter, if you get this signal, you're talking about widespread heavy rainfall. Why? Because temperatures are colder. Now we're moving into a warmer environment. Typically, you have this accompanied with 70s and 80s. So if you're looking for a widespread heavy rainfall event, you want to be over 1.5 inches, pushing to 2 inches. When you start to get into this zone, I believe this is yellow. So when you start to see yellows and reds here, this is when you're talking about your significant heavy rainfall events, okay? Because the warmer air can hold more water in the atmosphere. This is more of a scattered shower. You can get a little brief heavy downpour, maybe a quarter of an inch here, half an inch there, with an occasional shower. And then you can see on Monday, now look, now we're up into this range here. This is where we could start to see our showers and thunderstorms and heavy rainfall. And this is where you could push your isolated rainfall amounts up to 2 inches in a few isolated locations within thunderstorms. This is a clear convective signal. Again, notice where we are with our precipitable water values and how that convective value is influencing the transport of moisture. In terms of our temperatures at 850 millibars, hey, by the way, your polar air masses, I give it about 24 hours. That's about it. So if you get a chilly day, it's done in 24 hours. So you take the coat out and then you can put it away in the closet because it goes away pretty quickly. Here we are setting up for Saturday. Hey, if you're interested in temperatures in the 80s, don't be surprised you see that around the Philadelphia metro, southwestern New Jersey. Heck, I could even see central New Jersey if we get enough mixing because our 850 millibar temperatures are going to be around 20 degrees Celsius. So it's going to be a very nice day. And then unfortunately, the backdoor cold front says, no, I don't like you. So it shoves it right back south. As you can see here, 850 millibars on Sunday. Then Monday, it surges back north. This is an excellent way to get sick because then you're at 70, 40, 70, 40. It's going to drive you nuts. So just be prepared for it because it's going to be wacky. And that is how our spring is going to continue to be with surges of warm air, surges of chilly air, but nothing sticks. It just constantly changes. At the surface, look at this. Very, very nice on Saturday. 70s, a couple of 80s. I wouldn't be surprised to get some 80s here around Monmouth County, Ocean County, Burlington, back down through southwestern New Jersey, Philadelphia Metro, southeastern Pennsylvania. Hey, look, if you're heading out to the Bronx, it's not going to be that bad either. Talking about 75, 76, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. Then reality slaps you in the face on Sunday. Look at that influence of that maritime air. This is what I'm talking about. When you get this whole pattern continue to evolve, all that dense, chilly air is going to try to push southward. And basically, what happens is all this warm air that you had beforehand gets lifted aloft. And what you end up with is what you call the stable weather pattern. So as a result, you get a lot of low clouds, a lot of drizzle. It's raw. It's ugly. Not the best day to go out and enjoy a ball game or anything else for that matter, unless you head down towards Philadelphia where it's 70. So what is this? About a good 20 to 25 plus you. 20 to 25-degree gradient over the region, and get used to that. But then boom, it warms right back up again on Monday. And this is where we have that potential for some thunderstorms over the next 90 hours. Not too much in the way of precipitation. Watch out for a few pesky showers here and there. But other than that, it's going to be a pretty quiet period. And then we're going to keep an eye out for that cold front moving through on Monday. We're too far out to really dive into the strong signals for convective precipitation. But I can say this is from Tropical Tidbits, and this is the skew T on the European ahead of some of these convective cells here. And at the very least, we have what's called a potentially unstable atmosphere. Okay. Why is it potential? Well, all right. First of all, you have a stable environment here from about 800. Well, no, I'm sorry. Let's say about 850 down to about 925. Okay. So you have this stable wall here. But if you get enough lifting, I don't know, via a cold front, let's say, it can overcome this and you can get a nice thunderstorm because above that level, above 850 millibars, it's unstable. So you get enough lifting, boom, conditionally unstable, and then it becomes unstable. And this is where we could see a few thunderstorms. This does not signal anything severe, but definitely Monday we could hear some rumbles of thunder and some heavy rainfall. I believe the Phillies are opening during this time period. Not looking great, but if there's one thing I know about MLB is that they will wait, especially for an opening day. So don't be surprised if they try to pull that. But Monday's not looking too good. Tuesday's looking a lot better with drier conditions. So that is everything that I have. And now it's time for your questions. As always, we start off first with the premium chat because premium members get all their questions answered. And then we'll check out social media, YouTube, X, Facebook, and go from there. So let's see what we got here from the guys. Let's see here. Good evening from Card, of course. Card Shark is a mainstay. He's here all the time, always asking outstanding questions. Solar activity levels have been a real roller coaster the past couple of weeks. Sunspots dropped a lot today. The coronal hole is huge. Yep. Have no idea of the answer, but wondering if there is a point where coronal hole coverage gets so large it becomes a Houston, we have a problem territory. Never seen anything like that, and it doesn't sound like any of the solar scientists are really concerned about that. I guess it would be a first. It'd be something that's kind of beyond my understanding of solar science. Okay, so I'm probably not the best person to opine over such an event, but I never heard of anything like that, and no one's really sounding the alarm on that. But this whole process is typical as we go from a solar cycle that was high to heading towards low. So I'm not too surprised of some of the funkiness here, but I'm not hearing anything that is outrageously concerned. I do think we're going to see more auroras show up as we move on through the spring. So if you love that, then get ready because I think there's going to be more. Thinking of starting a pool of when the next Route 80 sinkhole will open up. Probably tomorrow morning at this rate. Jeez. Uh, Anybody but the Dodgers. Yeah, you know what the problem with the Dodgers is this, right? I don't hate a team. I get generally annoyed. The only thing I hate is that mascot who stole my popcorn. That that yes, that man will pay. That thing will pay. But anyway, um, the Dodgers. Problem with the Dodgers is that they got a player who is, I don't know, he's okay. I mean, they act like as if he's the greatest player that ever played. He's really not. I'm not impressed with him. He's okay. He's okay. I'm not afraid. I'll put it this way: in the playoffs, I was not afraid when he came up to the plate because my pitcher struck him out and took him out of the game. So he never scared me. Okay. Um, what I'm impressed with the Dodgers is their philosophy on how to hit. They will take a single and they will load the bases and they will cut you to death. They will slowly wear down your starting pitching because they're willing to take the base rather than trying to hit a 6-run home run. That's what makes the Dodgers dangerous. With all the injuries, I have zero expectations for the Yankees this year. Hey, that's the best place to be, man. I mean, that's how I live as a Met fan. I have no expectations. I just enjoy the ride. Tomorrow has a fire risk special statement for tomorrow. Yeah, definitely. Because we're still dealing with a lot of this dry weather. Until we really get out of this drought completely, we're going to continue to deal with those conditions. Temperature contrast between New York and Philly metros and central and northern New England is amazing. And we're going to see it all through the spring. Let's see what we got here on YouTube. Question for people who want to put in a garden. Roughly when, in Delaware, can we consider no further freezes, the impact gardens and overnight temps roughly in the 50s? Oh, in the 50s. Oh, overnight. Um, Heck, I'd probably wait towards late April or early May if you're waiting for that warm. You'll have stretches where you'll be in the 50s, but because of the nature of a lot of these maritime air masses and the backdoor cold fronts, I can't rule out temperatures dropping into the 30s depending on how sensitive your plants are. That could be an issue. Um, I don't see a lot of freezing days down towards Delaware. Northern New Jersey, the Poconos, Catskills, definitely. But the way I would handle it is I'm not opening up the outside water until we get into April, and well into April at this rate, based on what I'm seeing with the temperature trends in central New Jersey. So you probably want to wait a little bit. Our growing season is a little bit muted this year, but I think by mid-April you could really start getting more aggressive, and then late April you should be okay. What animals do you like more? Oh, oh, I see. Uh huh. Uh huh. I like Godzilla. How's that? Yeah, yeah. Between one or the other. How about Godzilla? There we go. What areas have the best chance of reaching close to 80 degrees? Southern New Jersey or Jersey? Definitely southwestern New Jersey. Jersey Shore, you're going to get influences from the Atlantic, so you're more likely going to get knocked down a bit. Right on the beach, I wouldn't be surprised if you're stuck in the upper 60s. What was Hurricane Loda from 2020 downgraded to a Category 4 status despite reaching Category 5 status for more than a minute? Based on some of the data that they had and kind of cleaning up some of the erroneous data, and the way that they study that is based on whether or not the pressure matches correctly with the wind that's being reported. Sometimes you get some errors in that with the observations, and you got to go back and study it and really make sure that the equations make sense. Again, it's all based on mathematical equations. Part of those equations actually are in this book. So, um, if it doesn't match the mathematical equations one way or the other, this is also why some hurricanes are adjusted upward based on pressure readings and the way that the storm's evolving. Compare that with the satellite and radar signatures. You make that adjustment. Let's see here. Can we get a major solar storm G4 this year? It's possible. It's definitely possible. I wouldn't rule it out. Let's see here. I'm not sure about the Enzo for this. I certainly not for the winter next year. Come on, let's get through spring first. But as far as the hurricane season, I don't see any type of strong signal. I like neutral, near neutral. Okay. Do you have anything on Facebook or X? Okay. Facebook. My wife does not enjoy Facebook. She if it's a mutual hate, and I see. This is why my wife is amazing, even though she doesn't think so sometimes, but I do. No, that's not true. But the reason why is that she puts up with social media. Like, this is part of my job, but she puts up with it only because of me. So I really do appreciate it because it can be a real pain. And honestly, Facebook always has some sort of glitch with it because they always like try to break things to make them better. And I'm like, that's okay. How are we doing on X? Your favorite platform, X. uh, all right. So let's see. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that is true. That is true. It looks like we have all the questions answered. That's awesome. Okay, so just to recap, the Mets are winning the World Series this year. Okay, I want to make that very clear. And they will do so by beating the Dodgers in the NLCS, and they will do so by beating the Yankees in the World Series. I think both games go down to game seven in an epic battle to show that the Mets truly are the not only the best team in New York, but in the whole world. So I'm looking forward to this season. I mean, honestly, I know I'm not jumping. My NCAA bracket was utterly destroyed already. Oh yeah, I think I didn't even. I put out a bracket just as fun, and I actually got pretty far. I have no idea who's winning, what the teams are, but basically I did it based on mascots. You know, I did that one year, uh, where they actually we were put in a pool. I put in $2. It got up to about $500 pool, and you had all these guys that were like really technical, like breaking down like the players and their jump shots and this and that. And I'm like, well, this one looks cool. I think this one will fight this one, and they'll fight. The mascot, the bulldog, will eat the bird. So I'm gonna go with the bulldog, and I won. Yes, that's how I did. And I won, and I pissed off so many people because I didn't do any of the analysis. I don't care who. I picked a 16 team to be a one seed, and it worked out. And yeah, well, I mean, it worked out great, and I had fun because I didn't really care. It was only $2, but I won a lot of money, and then it was fun. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. All right. Well, going forward, we'll have the Mets game on while we're doing it. So I'll give my thoughts about the Mets game as we go. We'll see how the season pans out. Knowing the Mets, it will be some drama because they don't. The Mets do not just win and dominate. Even 1986 was drama. It was outside drama, but there's always drama with the Mets, which is why it's fun to watch because it kind of weeds out the front runners and the bandwagon fans and the diehard fans, you know who they are because they look insane. Like, for example, I lost my hair, and I get a twitch in my eye every time I hear something about, oh, I don't know, the Cardinals and hitting a home run. And, oh, I don't even want to think about it. So, we'll wrap it up for tonight. Thank you, as always, for watching, and I hope you enjoy our new book that we're going to be reading and learning from. Again, you can find it on Amazon, very easy. So this is an excellent book, so definitely pick that up. In the meantime, stay safe out there.